Hey, how y'all doing? This is Hunt 919 Truth or Sports coming to you with another segment. So this one you just need to sit back and listen to. This may take a while, but these are 15 things that I think that a kid should do, that they should think about or do before they enter the NCAA Transfer Portal. Um, and now I'm speaking with experience. I'm speaking as a parent. I'm speaking as a next player on the JUCO and the Division 1 level, and I'm also speaking as a coach. So this does come with some experience, but you don't necessarily have to have these type of experiences in order to have some input on this. And this can apply to all sports. So anybody that you think, if you think these examples are good and somebody can get help from it, pass it on to someone who's, because we need to be able to step in and help some of these kids. Because for me doing my little investigations and research on this portal, for the most part, it hurts more than it helps. And I get into that in another segment. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this. Starting with number one, I don't think you should talk to a family member about your decision that you're trying to make, especially if you have any type of NIL deal, because the first thing a parent is going to say, depending on what type of parent you have, oh baby, you can do anything you want to, you're the best, etc., etc. And if you've played sports and you're in the real world of sports, you know it's not that simple. Um, and if you have an NIL, they may be talking from the aspect of themselves getting something off of you, not necessarily your decision, because you're the one that have to live there. You're the one that have to deal with the repercussions, or the success of you being there. So talk to someone that can give you real advice. Like talk to an ex-player that you know play college ball. Talk to your coach who's probably played college ball or have some good insight of it. But try to step outside the people that you normally talk to who are going to tell you only things that you want to hear, to get real advice. Somebody who has real ties to sports, and someone again that will have your best interests at heart, not what they can get off of you. And I think that's very important. Number two, self-evaluation. Do you really think you can play at the level that you're trying to transfer to? Or do you think you need to play up, or do you think you need to play down? And you need a real assessment of yourself and your skills at this part of your career. You may be still in the early stage where you're learning, you not don't really know who you are as a player on that level yet. You really don't know mentally how to deal with being a supportive player, meaning you coming off the bench and you used to starting out of high school, et cetera, et cetera. You may be trying to transfer from this level up a level, and you got to ask yourself, can you really play at that level? So self-evaluation is very important. Can you continue? Number three is, can you continue your curriculum as far as your major and graduation goes? Will the new school accept your credits, or will you lose some credits going to that school, and will that knock you off of your graduation track? I don't think a lot of kids think about that, and I don't. And I think it's very important. For instance, Willie Gaines, I did interview one of his coaches, and one of the things that they were having trouble with is they can't figure out really where he is as far as hours and his credits. So they don't know right now, at least when I talk to them, if he has another year left, because they have to get his credits together, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing you really have to think about before you transfer. Number four, are you really going to get time at the new school, or are you just being recruited for the depth chart? And that's very important that people don't want to look at, people don't want to accept. You're getting looked at just to add to the depth chart because they have to fill out their roster. Um, so I know that of course you're going to compete, you're going to go to a depth chart, you're going to compete, but why do they really want you there? Do they really think you can play and help them? Do they really think you can step in and help them move towards their success or towards their goals, whether it's a bowl game, whether it's an NCAA championship tournament, or whether it's just towards a winning record? Do you really believe that you can go there and really play? Because if you're going to be a part of a depth chart, then you might as well stay where you are. So you need to ask them that. Why do you really want me here, coach? Especially if it's a school that you have no ties to any of the coaches there. A lot of times kids try to transfer to schools where some of the coaches may have recruited them, then they moved on to other schools, which is also not really good, because if they're not the head coach, it's not so much they can do at the end of the day. Um, so that's number four. Number five is, have you looked up the players at your position the year before to see how they did? Did you look to see who's coming back and who will be your competition? If you're a receiver, were they a passing team? Did they get did the it's not really about the yards with the receiver, it's how many times did he get receptions, how many times did they throw to him, how many times did they attempt to throw it to him. If you're a running back, what was as far as the running backs, look at the running back room, see how many yards that they total as a whole from all the running backs that ran, see how many yards that they total. Then look at the top running backs, the top two, and look at their yards to see how they did. Are you really researching where you're going, or you're just trying to go to a name brand school, or you just trying to get out of the school that you're at, and really you're taking steps back? So you need to figure those things out, and especially who's coming back to your position. Because if you have the number one and the number two receivers coming back to your position, unless you got a quarterback like Shador who know how to spread the ball around, you may be in a little trouble. And the same thing with it's been a rusher. You need to really be careful to see who's already there. Number six, can you live there without football being your main focus? Meaning, if you're not playing, can you still be happy with that within that community? Um, I'll give you a perfect example. If you ever been to Florida Atlantic University or even seen it, I believe that's a place you can be happy at whether you plan or not. Beautiful campus, nice atmosphere, great surroundings, great facilities, and everything. So you need to ask yourself, am I strictly going to that town for football? Because at this day and time, that may not be a good idea because chances are, especially as a transfer, you may have to wait for a while before you really play or get significant time. So can you live there without it being your main focus? Can you still be happy within that community, in and around that facility, if things are not going your way? Because if you go to like the University of Iowa and all they got is Iowa football and you go there and you're not playing a lot, you're probably not going to survive in that town, especially if you're a black athlete going into a predominantly white town. This has nothing to do with race. I'm just dealing with reality. Are you playing for Georgetown University? You transferred there, but you're not playing a lot. But you got DC, you got places, things that you can do that can still keep you active and maybe not put you in such a depression with your playing situation. So these are some of the things that you have to think about. If you're not active, how will you feel? If it's not going your way, how will you feel? Can I still function here, or I'll be ready to go back home? Number seven, do you have the patience to wait your turn? Do you understand that this may not be your year? Everybody's transferring because they thinking they're going to a better situation, but you still may transfer and be behind some seniors, some juniors, proven seniors and juniors, and you'll have to wait your turn. This year may not be your year. Next year may not be your year. It may be 2 years from now. It may be your senior year. Everybody's not a Travis Hunter can come in and look great from the beginning. And a lot of us that play sports can tell you that you go from starting everywhere you've been to being on the depth chart and fighting just to get some time. So do you have the patience to wait your turn, knowing this may not be your time yet? Number eight, are you an average player or an exceptional player? Meaning, are you a true number one or number two in the depth chart of the school? And I'm not talking about, I believe I'm better than everybody. You look at players, and I hate when they say, you're supposed to say I'm the best and this and that. You can say that all you want, but when you get on the court or the field with somebody, you know if they're better than you. I don't care what you say. And you have to be real with yourself, especially with this transfer portal when you're allowed to move around and do this and that and play in all these different places. Really that self-evaluation, are you a number one or are you a number two? Or can you feel like you can compete for that chat? For instance, like the Carolina Tar Heels is my dream school. But I had to sit down with myself when they didn't recruit me. I had to ask myself, man, if they did recruit you, and you went to Carolina, could you really fight for playing time, or would you be a bench player? And I can honestly say I don't think I could have played at Carolina, especially as a freshman and sophomore. So are you really real with yourself as far as where you are as a player? Number nine, and this is very important, and a lot of people don't think about this. Are you really mentally to deal with the reality that the NFL or the NBA, etc., or your professional league, whatever that is, may not be in your future? And are you ready for education to make the jump to the forefront of your career and your goals? Is what you're doing. When we was in school, They used to tell us, if you haven't heard from the NBA by the time you're a junior, this is when you had to stay for the most part. If you have not heard from the NBA by the time you're a junior, you're probably not going, or you're probably not getting drafted. Doesn't mean you can't make it. You're probably not getting drafted. You need to really focus on graduation. And I never forgot when I was told that. When we were told that. So, are you ready to deal with the reality that the NFL may not be in your future? That's why I hate when coaches keep saying, "I know you want to play at the next level, and I know you want to do this and do that." I just don't think you should even talk the next level. If you're that good, you got enough coaches around, coaches or scouts that come from the NFL and watch tape. They'll contact you and your coach if you're good enough for the NFL. You don't have to talk about it. Travis Hunter doesn't have to talk about the NFL. That we all know he's getting drafted. Shador doesn't have to talk. We all know he's getting drafted. So if you have to ask if you're getting drafted, you probably won't be getting drafted. Again, not to hamper on your dreams doesn't mean you can't make it, but you have to really look at yourself. Are you ready to deal with the reality, especially going into your junior, senior years? Are you ready to deal with the reality that the NFL or the NBA or your pro sport in whatever field you choose may not be in your future? And are you ready? And you better be ready to make education, bring that to the forefront, which it should be already, but we know it's not always like that. So are you ready for that? Number 10, are you choosing the school because it's a name brand school, or are you choosing a school that you can really go and play at? That's a big deal. So when people graduate from high school, including myself, when you sign, you want, because everybody knows your name's going to be in the paper. Everybody's going to come up to your school and say congratulations. But you, like in my situation, I'm from the ACC town, so I want somebody. So, oh yeah, I'm signing with NC State. I'm signing with Clemson. I'm signing with Carolina, et cetera, et cetera. Um, are you willing to get away from the name? And especially you all are coming up in a great time, because you don't have to be a name brand school to be on television, because that was the main thing. Everybody wanted to be on television. Now you can be on television at every level, and a lot of teams are good. But are you willing to accept a role or an offer from a school that's not a name brand school in your mind? Are you ready to deal with that? Number 11, have you asked yourself, if you're why are you really transferring? Are you really into your feelings, into your emotions right now because you're not starting, because a coach may have said something to you that hurt your feelings? Why are you truly transferring away from where you are? At least where you are, you're very familiar with the coaches, you know what they want, you're familiar with the town, you're familiar with the facilities, you're familiar with the program, how everything operates. Why are you really transferring away? And don't tell me it's always playing time, because you may transfer and not get playing time. And I actually did a I did my own little research on 10 players, random players that were not um, Colorado bus players, to see how they did when they transferred, and it didn't look good. So why are you really transferring? Really need to ask yourself that question. Number 12, is there an NIL situation? Um, is this, I mean, if there's an NIL situation, are you really taking it for the short term, or are you looking at the long term? Because in the short term, the NIL situation may look great, even though we know the millions of dollars are only going to a small percentage of players. Everybody's fooled by that. For the most part, players are not getting millions of dollars for the most part. So are you leaving for an NIL situation that may be happy, that may make you happen in the short term, but in the long term, it's terrible for you, because you're going to get to that school, eventually it's going to tail off, and it may not be worth you leaving the situation where you are right now. And if you are going to an NIL situation, do you trust that NIL situation? Did you sign some type of guarantee for that NIL situation? Because we're hearing different horror stories of players or coaches promising players NIL money. They either get there, they don't get all of it, they don't get none of it, or it's not as much as they said it was. There are a bunch of cases right now with that. So don't let the NIL situation trick you, unless you figure out how to sign and guarantee NIL situation. Yes, if I come to this school, can I get some paperwork saying, okay, we agreed to 100,000 per semester or per year, whatever it is. Can I get a guarantee in writing before I come there? Because if I come there, most of it's because of the NIL situation. I can live off of that. So be careful with the NIL situations, and have you researched your excuse me, your NIL situation or your NIL offer. Are they known for getting kids there and not paying the NIL money? Number 13, are you ready for it all to end? Because it's very possible that if you enter the portal, especially if you're not a top tier player, because I think last year there was over 3,000 left in the portal. Left in the portal. I look at it as 3,000 kids that probably had scholarships, and now they don't, and now they're just stuck. So, are you ready for it all to end if you go into the portal without a place to go or a guaranteed place to go? Because it's very possible that you will not get picked up. And again, that goes back to are you acting off of emotion just to say, tell the coach, I'm tired of this. I don't like how you treat me. I'm going into the portal, and then you go into the portal and sit there. And there was a great quote by Coach Prime, and this also goes into number 12 with the NIL situation. He says, know the difference of being offered a bag and being offered a blessing. And that was great too. He has some great quotes. I may not agree with every single thing Coach Prime does as far as coaching, but I do listen to him a lot. I can't even lie to you. And I look at a lot of his quotes on Twitter, and this one stood out to me. I'm going to say it again. Know the difference of being offered a bag and being offered a blessing. And let me say something about a bag. What's a bag to you? Is 50,000 a bag to you? Is 100,000 a bag to you? Or is a million a bag to you? Um, because when you chop that 50 and that 100,000 up and all that in taxes, it's not what you think it is. You know what I'm saying? They don't come with $100,000 in the bag and give it to you for the most part. I know they have with certain players. So again, know the difference of being offered a bag or being offered a blessing. A blessing would be coming to the I'm gonna use Colorado because everybody knows Colorado. Coming to the University of Colorado, you get coached by Coach Prime and some Hall of Famers on staff. But beyond that, beautiful facilities, and it's a great school, and it's a great place to live in a part in time of your life. You don't have to stay there your whole life, but Colorado is beautiful. That's a blessing to me. And on top of that, you are on scholarship. We keep talking about NIL money, but these kids are on scholarship. They are getting free schooling. And I think all that gets lost with this NIL stuff. So, okay, I don't sign an NIL deal, but I'm getting a full ride. Okay, I get the but Bill Coach Prime. I can, if I don't go pro, I can learn other things. I'm going to be very visible. I can make relationships off of my name while I'm here, and I go to a great university, and it's in a great atmosphere. And this may be a place may never live, Colorado, but my God, this is great for a college experience. That's a blessing. So that's something you need to think about. You may get a bag, you may get 20, 30,000. They're gonna break it up to you in taxes. You're gonna get there. It's not gonna be as much as you think it is, and you're not playing. And you may not play ever because the depth chart is so deep. That's being offered a bag. So I just told you the difference. Number 14, I did a video on this, but nobody knew me then, so they didn't really look at it. It wasn't a lot of views. But I think this is one of the smartest things you can do if you're not a player that's going to be going to the NFL. Uh, did you or have you thought about in an NIL situation, in an NIL deal, have you thought about turning that into a job opportunity? When your career is over and you don't go pro with this NIL deal, whoever you're dealing with on the business level, have you tried to flip that into a job? Let's just say it's Coca-Cola. You say Coca-Cola, I sign this NIL deal with you, but when I graduate, if I do not go pro, if I graduate within let's say the next 2 years, because you have to have rules and stipulations on it, and I graduate, um, and I don't go to the NFL or I don't go to the NBA, can I get a job, a corporate job with your company? Why not try to tie that in? So is that something you've thought about or that you've done before you decide to go into the portal or go into the portal, go to a school and accept the NIL deal? Um, Number 15, and a lot of people don't think about this, and it makes my heart ache because I think this is something that could have happened to not Wilkerson, but I forgot his name just that quick, who ended up going to Arizona State. I'm sorry, I know his name too. I can see his face and everything, can't think of it right now. But can you pass the physical? Okay, because a lot of people get stuck in the portal because they go to a school and they don't pass the physical. So think about this rehabbing, you may be at the best school to rehab than where you could potentially be going. Give an example again with Colorado. They got great facilities. There's a lot of schools that have great medical facilities that can help you rehab. So, are you okay? First, can you pass a physical to go to another school? Because that can embarrass yourself. You jump into the portal, and we find out you didn't get picked up because you couldn't pass the McCaskill. That's his name, McCaskill. But if you go into Alton McCaskill, if you go into the portal and you get stuck because you're hurt, now not only you in the portal hurt, but where you rehabbing at? Because now you got to pay for it out of your pocket or have some type of insurance. Where are you rehabbing at to get well? Can you pass that physical? Are you leaving great facilities before you're fully healthy? You may have to stay a whole year just to make sure you're healthy before you enter the portal. So you got to think about that. Um, so again, you gotta make sure you're healthy and you gotta make sure you're mentally ready to go into that portal. And again, I just did this little research myself, and I'm going to be releasing that later on, if not today, maybe tomorrow. But I followed, I think it was 10 players, random players, because somebody wanted me to do things outside of CU players when it came to the portal. So I went through and I looked these kids up, and then I looked to where they transferred to, and I'm gonna say at least 8 or 9 times out of 10, it didn't end up well for them, or it did not end up better for them. And again, I'm not talking about top tier players. Like if you're coming from what's the quarterback that just came from Penn State, then he transferred. He may get a legit shot, but other than that, you got to be real careful of what you're doing. I'm only making this because I care about the kids. I don't necessarily like the portal for the majority of them. Some of them I think is great. They can get paid. They can move to another school, another area. Some of them's going to work out great for it, and they may do well enough. They don't have to go pro. But for the majority, and I'm talking about the majority, and I'm talking about, let's be honest, you average players. I know you were great in high school, 4 and 5 stars, and this and that, 3 stars. Then you got to the college level and you became average or slightly below average, or you haven't had an opportunity to prove what you are at all. So for you, most part, most of you guys, probably including myself, if I was still playing, I would have to know exactly where I'm going, and I would have had talks with the coaches, and I would have done some of the research that I've done. I hope that I would have. When you're older, you're not like you were when you were younger. But I would have done a lot of these things before I transferred. So some of these things you all can look into, pass it along to people who it may help before they make these decisions. When 3,000 kids are sitting in a portal with nowhere to go, and the next year comes up, you're still sitting there. As years go by, you drop deeper and deeper unless you know somebody. Um, and another option you could think about, just adding this one at the end, have you thought about going to a junior college level where you can get re-recruited again? You can go to a junior college level, get re-recruited by coaches again, just like you're in high school again. That may be an option for you too. Go to the JUCO level. Um, um, because if you, whether you know it or not, you want to go to a D1 JUCO level with credited classes. I did not know up until about a year ago you had like Division 1, 2, and 3 JUCOs. I didn't know that. Luckily, I went to a high Division 1, but I thought it was all Division 1s. But you want to make sure that most of your classes can graduate. You want to look up a JUCO and see who's graduated from there and where they went on to play at. As far as football, I know a lot of schools in Kansas are big time in JUCO football, and a lot of kids. Oregon and some of these big schools got some of those kids from Kansas last year. Um, and then National JUCO football just played on ESPN the other day. But you can also research some Division One JUCOs and look up to see who's left from there and went on to schools, because you can tell by who left there. You can say, oh, if their grades or if their classes were able to transfer from this JUCO to Oregon or to Penn State, where some of these kids went, then you know it's a legit place to go, and that may be something you need to look into, where you can get re-recruited, re-evaluated, and you may get recruited to a team who really wants you into a level that you can play on. So that's just some of the things. That's 15 things. I may come up with some more later, but it's something to start on. I know hopefully this will create some feedback, and you all can give even more examples. And at the end of the day, we can help kids. So it's been Hunt 919, Truth to Sports. Ride with me.